Hi everyone, it's Nancy here and I'm back with something a little bit different. I'm going to show you the process I used of making a card and colouring one of my images. I do want to say that my lighting has gone quite blue there. That's just because I put a little one of my portable LED lights on when I'm doing colouring, because that helps me to see the colours better. So you just have to wait for the camera there to adjust. So, as you'll know, I made a kit up and I'm going to be using my leftovers from that to make some images. So, what I wanted to do is to just show you some of my colouring. I know some people had asked to see this, and I do use Spectrum Noirs to do my colouring, and so I thought I would just film me showing you how I do it and my process. I'm not sure how many people are going to be interested in this, but I thought, hey, I'll put it up and see what you guys think. I have been showing you on the side there the pens that I'm using to colour in. So hopefully, if you do have Spectrum Noirs, you'll be able to see the colour tones that I use. This is a digital image, and I just printed this out on my printer. I have a Kodak printer, and I've just used the Nina cardstock from Crafter's Companion to print this out on, and I find that that works brilliantly with the Spectrum Noirs. You do get a little bit of bleeding, as you can see there at the bottom, but that's merely because I like to flood my image quite heavily with ink. I always start off with the lightest colour, so in this case it was FS2, and I flood the whole image and then build my layers and tones up on top of that. And that is just my personal preference of how I work. I'm not sure if it's right or it's wrong, to be honest. I have watched a few videos, and then the rest is basically just what I've kind of learnt by doodling and playing. My pens that have the red line under the wording, the number, are the ones that have a brush tip. So you will see me using the brush tip for some of these, and I do find that that's really helpful. I find using that brush tip does make it just a little bit easier to get into the smaller areas, which is not so bad on this size stamp, because of course it being digital you can resize it. This stamp, as I said, is digital, and I got it on Etsy from a store called the Oddball Art. I will put a link to it down below in the description. And they have beautiful images, and I love the look on this girl's face. I just think she's beautiful. So I tend to start with the skim. It tends just to be what I do first, and as you'll see, it's just about building layers up and playing with the light and working with that. And I said, you'll also see the colours that I've been using along the side there. And they are my go-to skin colours, and as I said, there's a little bit of bleeding at the bottom, and that's mainly just because I flood the colours on there so much, but I'm not too bothered. It doesn't really detract from it too much, and to be honest, sometimes I'm going to just cut the stamps out anyway, so it doesn't worry me too much. I just went and picked up some other colours to colour in the stool that she's sitting on, and I will show you what colour this is. The cap is just a little bit off to the side because I did zoom in, and I find, so there you go, I'm using GB9 and TN7, and I find, you know, choosing the colours are quite easy. I have the colour chart, and you can kind of just choose colours that are like one or two apart on that, and they shade in really well together. Also at Spectrum Noirs, when you buy them, they sell them in kits where you can use them straight away for shading. So that's really good as well if you're unsure what to do. So I'm just now starting off on the clothes, and as I said, I'm starting with the lightest colours. I just missed a little bit there of the chair. And then I build up. So I start with PP1, and I put that all over, and now I start to add in my shadows. And this is just kind of using, you know, the stamped image as a guide, and also, you know, once you decide where your lighting is going to come from. Mine's not perfect. I don't kind of worry too much about that. I just do it to what I like. And as you'll see, I then went back with the lighter colour to help blend that in. I've then pulled in PP5 to start putting even the darker tones in, and where you're going to have, wrinkling and ruffling in the image. And as I said, I really like that, and then you just I go back and forwards between the last two colours that I put on, and it just helps everything blend nicely together. I'm just going to add a little bit of that to her lips as well, to add some colour in. And you must remember with alcohol markers, that they are going to settle as well. And that's often where you'll see me go back and maybe add some more colour and, definition in to that, different layers on here. So I'm now just going to be colouring her little waistcoat, and again using some pink tones. It's just a case of, choosing some darker lights and shading them in, and then just waiting a little bit for them to dry. I do like to then use my greys, my BG1 particularly, just to add, some tones into it and some shadow into it. And that's what I use to add the shading for her nose and also around her knees as well. So here I go with my BG1, and as I said, this is one of my most used ones. I do have two of these pens, and I use them, use the brush end as well. And it's just really good for adding shadow, and of course, it does bleach a little bit of the, undercolour out. So I just wanted to make her top appear like a white colour, but I didn't want to, of course, just leave it white, so I'm just using my greys and light pinks. I do apologise that you get a glimpse of my crazy hair in these videos. I was just sitting colouring this in and completely forgot that I had crazy hair. So I do apologise that you get to see that in some of these shots. So I'm just going to be adding some colour there into her eyes, and I kind of dart around my image a little bit. So I'm going to be working on these beautiful shoes. And again, I could have done these all different colours, but I decided to just focus on the pinks because I'm pulling out the colours from the papers that I had left. And, I would say, if you do have any alcohol markers out there, just to grab your pens and have a play. I hadn't done any colouring before, I think it was November time? Maybe October. No, it was October. October I got my pens. Or was it September? No, September is when I first got my pens. And so I haven't been colouring too long. Crazy hair! And so yeah, I've just been playing and just, some images aren't so great, but others come out okay, so it's just a matter of playing about. So I'm now going to be starting on her hair, and I decided to make this one blonde, so I'm using EB1 to start with, just to lay on that colour, as I said. And what I'm doing is just sort of flooding the image, but I'm not making it completely solid because I do want this to look like curly hair. So you can see that I'm doing kind of some little bits of squiggles, and then bringing in the next darkest colour, which is EB2. And if you ever want to find sort of any recipes as such for the colour combinations, then you can go on Pinterest. I pin some pins on Pinterest. You can just Google it and find just Google blonde hair spectral noirs, and you'll get kind of a little recipe of the colours to use. And so if you're a little bit apprehensive, that is a good way to go about it. And so I'm just adding those over the top and just slowly working them in. I do then just use this GB1 as well, and it's just a case of just adding layers and layers and layers, and that is what you do with these pens. Again, I'm going back to my BG1, which is my beloved one, and that's just adding some more of the sort of shadows in. And as I said, this image probably took me about half an hour. It's probably about half an hour to colour in. Bear in mind I was zooming kind of in and out as well to film this. Maybe a little bit longer than that. I was just listening to a podcast, so the time is going quite quickly. But I find it really relaxing. So I don't mind spending time doing it. So I'm just taking my TB3 here, I'm colouring in her eyes, and then using IB2, which is the ice blue colours, and just again layering those up. I'm just colouring her little braids in there because I missed those. I'm just going back over any other areas that needed a little bit of definition. I've just zoomed in here so you can see me using my white pen just to crisp up the whiteness around her eyes, and I do this at the end because you're guaranteed to get some bleeding in there. So really just use that to crisp them up, and that's my Signo Uniball. And then I'm using my Sakura black glaze pen here just to go over her pupils, just to make them really nice and shiny. So I've just zoomed out so you can see me using my Signo Uniball white pen to add a little bit of highlight. I do add some highlight over her clothes, and then I do dab it with my finger so it's not as stark. And again, there is not really much rhyme and reason where I put the highlights on here. I kind of just go with it. I'm just putting some little wisps in her hair again to suggest curls, and it's just playing really. I'm then taking my Wink of Stella Clear, and I wanted to make her top that she's wearing sparkly, and I also add some sparkle to her socks. And I then take my gold Wink of Stella and use it to add some more definition and to her gold curls. And I'm really pleased how that come out. Again, that just little gold just adds that deeper highlight to her curly hair, and it comes out super sweet. And I'm just adding a little bit of Wink of Stella around her eyeballs and to her lips there. And I know that's a bit quick, but you could vaguely see what I was doing. So I've now taken just a craft card base, and it has a scalloped edge, and this is this piece of My Girl paper from American Crafts, which I think was the one from 2012. And I'm just using that to make my backgrounds. It had this like pre-cut sort of design, pre-printed design in the corner, which I wasn't that keen on, but I decided to use that as a layering element. I've got that Hello Friend, which I've cut from that Pebbles Happy Days piece of paper, and then also one of the 3D stickers from Dear Lizzie that Moira sent me. And I'm just mounting that piece on a bit of it was the basic grey Kelly Perky one, just to pull in a little bit of turquoise. And again, I've got these flags, so banners, which I did manage to use on any of my layouts. So I'm just going to add this to the top of the card. I do keep playing about whether to put that rosette flower on that doesn't end up on the design. And I'm just going through my distress inks and finding weathered wood, which I'm going to use to ink everything. And the card design is is nothing major, it's nothing outstanding, and it really is just showcasing the coloured image, but it was just using up those scraps, and these were kind of, big enough that I could do something with those scraps of paper. And so I'm really glad that I got them used on a card, and I really like that Pebbles paper because there's lots and lots of different sentiments I can use on cards as well. So just going around here and inking everything up, including the banner, which did take a little bit of time, but I'm glad I got a little bit of it used. I think I'm going to be using it for years to come. So I'm just going to stick that down on that card base, and I like this scallop card base. It just adds a little bit of decoration to it. And I'm just using my wet glue because my ATG had run out, and that works fine with the alcohol image. I've not ever had any problems with that. So I'm just going to stick that down on the card base at a slight angle, and I apologise, it is cut off a little bit there, and then you can see me just layer up my two different pieces. So it's a really simple card design. I'm going to dress up that corner by just putting that banner down. And I'm going to fuss around with this a little bit, and I'm just again using my wet glue to stick those down, and it just connects the image there to the top of the card. I do feel it looks a little bit blank, and I promise I'm not going to put that rosette flower on there. And I've just pulled out these tiny little pearls, and I'm just going to use that to decorate and also help kind of secure that banner down a little bit. Put the rosette away, Nancy. So I'm just going to stick those down in between the little banner pieces, and I'm using my beloved pokey tool to help me do this. And I just think it just adds a little bit of bling, and there's nothing wrong with a little bit of bling. So I hope you've enjoyed this process, guys. Please leave me any questions or comments below, and here's just a close-up of the image. Thank you very much, guys. Bye!